Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So today we're going to talk about which Cricut machine is right for you. So now there are 3 different Cricut machines. You have the Cricut Maker, the Cricut Explore series, as well as the Cricut Joy. So maybe you're shopping for a new machine and you want to know which one should I buy, which one is the machine for me. So we're going to talk about the similarities and the differences between the machines. So first let's talk about the obvious difference, and that's the size. So the Explore and Maker are just about the same size, while the Joy is significantly smaller. So if space is a constraint for you, maybe you don't have a dedicated space, you're living in a small apartment, you don't want to make huge projects anyway, the Cricut Joy is definitely the answer. Now, let's talk about complexity of the machines. So the machines kind of go up. So the Cricut Joy is the simplest, then you step up to the Cricut Explore series, and then you step up to the Cricut Maker, which is the most complicated. So the Cricut Joy is super simple, has only one blade that you use, super easy to use, and just really intuitive if you're just getting started with the Cricut machine. So then you move up to the Cricut Explore series. So there's a couple different blades, there's a scoring stylus that you can use, so there's a few, it offers up a few more options than the Cricut Joy. So you open up, of course, the size, so you can cut larger projects, and then you open up the number of materials you can cut. Then you step up to the Cricut Maker. So the Cricut Maker has like 5-6 different blades, there's a scoring wheel, there's tons of different things that you can do with it and make with it, and there's even more materials that you can cut. So you're basically taking a step up from the Cricut Explore series when you go to the Maker. So you need to think about, what kind of crafts do you want to do? Number 1, what are the size of those crafts? So the Cricut Joy can cut up to 4.5 inches wide, but it can also cut one continuous cut up to 4.5 feet long, or repeated cuts up to 20 feet long. So you can get super long cuts, but they won't be as wide. Now, if you're making a large sign, you would just cut that in 3 different cuts, each 4.5 inches wide, but could put it over a large sign that's 4.5 feet long. So you can make huge signs with the Cricut Joy, but you would have to take into consideration the 4.5 inch wide cut width restriction. Now, with the Cricut Explore series and the Cricut Maker, you can cut up to about 11.5 inches wide, but only 24 inches long. So you still have a cutting window that you're restricted to. Now, you can do some few hacks to cut oversized projects. You can definitely do that. But there is a learning curve to those more advanced techniques. When you first get it, you need to just expect that 11.5 inches by about 23.5 inches is going to be the window in which you can cut. The second thing you needed to think about is what kind of materials you want to cut. Do you want to just cut simple materials? Iron-on, vinyl, paper? The Cricut Joy is for you. Now, I have a post comparing the Joy to the Explore Air 2 where I cut tons of different materials with my Cricut Joy, so you can kind of get an idea of what it will cut. So if you're considering the Cricut Joy, drop below in the comments, in the description below, and I will have a link to that video where you can see me cut all kinds of things with the Cricut Joy itself, and then you can kind of determine, are those the materials I'm going to cut? Or do I need to step up to the Explore Air 2? So when you step up from the Joy to the Explore Air 2, you can go slightly thicker. So think craft foam, think cork, think real leather. Different things like that you can add to your crafting when you can use a deep point blade, which you can use with the Cricut Explore Air 2 or the Cricut Maker, of course, but cannot use with the Cricut Joy. So if you want those wider cut widths and those additional materials, the Cricut Explore is going to be the answer. Now, stepping up to the Cricut Maker, that adds a whole wide range of materials, even thicker than the Cricut Explore. So with the Cricut Maker, you get the ability to cut fabric without a backing. So fabric of just about any type you can cut with your Maker with the rotary blade. Then you get the addition of the knife blade, where you get things like wood, really thick materials really thick craft foam I've cut with this. I've cut tons of different materials, even like plastics and acrylics with my Cricut Maker and the knife blade. So the knife blade opens up those really thick and dense materials that you just can't cut with another machine. It has the power to do that as well as the blade to do that. So we're thinking about those two things, right? We're thinking about the size of the projects we want to make as well as the types of the projects that we want to make. The third thing you're going to have to think about is your budget. So I gave you the machines in order, right? Joy, Explore, Maker. That's also the order of price. So the Joy is going to be the least expensive. You're going to step up to the Explore, and then you're going to step up to the Maker. And as you step up, there are so many more options with all of the accessories you can get. So we talked about the Joy, like it only has one blade, it's fairly simple. The Explore, you're adding that blade on, you're adding a scoring stylus. All of those extras cost extra money. So when you get the Maker and you want all of those blades and you want all of that functionality, the knife blade, you want the engraving tip, you want a deboss material, you want all of those different tips and all that functionality, all of that is extra cost when you get the Maker. So you also have to think about the additional things that you're going to want with each machine to think about the bottom line cost, what it's going to cost you to actually get started with these machines. Yes, there are bundles where you can just pick up the machine with the blade that it comes with and a few materials and get started. But are you going to want that deep cut blade for the Explore within a month? Maybe, especially if you want to cut things like craft foam and cork and things like that. So also think about that bottom line cost when you're comparing the cost of the machines. So now we've talked about three things: the size of the cut, the type of materials you want to cut with it, as well as the price. Now I also have a separate video comparing the Explore Air 2 to the Maker, where I also cut a bunch of different materials. So I'm going to drop a link for that below as well, and that way you can kind of compare these two and the materials they cut. So if you're saying, okay, the Joy's not for me, like let's just put the Joy out of the picture, I can't have the smaller cutting area, I have to have the Explore or the Maker. Now, Angie, which one is for me? I would totally watch that video and compare those cuts and then kind of determine, okay, this is the one that I need for my craft room. Now, you can start small and you can work your way up. So you're new to Cricut, I'm going to start with the Joy. It's the simplest machine and I'm going to use it for a couple of years, and then maybe I'll invest in the Explore, use it for a few years, and then maybe I'll invest in the Maker. So you can totally do it that way. That's completely fine. Or you can save up your money from the very beginning and invest in the largest machine they have, which is the Maker, that has the most functionality, and have that functionality right out of the gate. But please be aware that the Maker is also the most complicated machine. So there's so many options with it and so many different things you can do that oftentimes people get overwhelmed. So they're overwhelmed with all the options. Which blade do I use? I don't understand. I don't understand all the features. And you can get really overwhelmed really fast. Whereas if you start with something small like the Joy, you can spend your time learning the software, which is Cricut Design Space for all three of the machines. Spend your time learning the software and cutting those super basic materials, and then decide if one of the bigger machines is even for you. Perhaps the Cricut Joy is all you need. So take those things into consideration when you're thinking about which machine is right for me. And I will tell you that there is no standard answer for every single crafter. For some crafters, the Cricut Joy is perfect. For other crafters, the Cricut Maker is the only thing they want in their craft room. I'm lucky enough to be able to play with all three and kind of give my opinions on all three. But I really think it really depends on what kind of crafter you are and what your needs are in your craft room and how big of a space you have. That's totally something to take into consideration. And then what I want to leave you with is, if you like to craft on the go and you travel a lot, I would consider hands down getting the Cricut Joy. I've traveled with my Cricut Maker. It's big, it's heavy, it's hard to travel with. If the Cricut Joy had been around when I needed to make those trips, I would have taken my Cricut Joy and had my Cricut Joy in the craft room. So if you are needing to travel, I would hands down recommend the Cricut Joy. If you're limited on space, the Cricut Joy is an amazing machine. Space isn't a consideration. You're going to have it at home all the time. Then I would compare all three before you make your decision and kind of look at the three things I mentioned. So you need to look at the size of the projects you want to do, the types of materials you want to cut, and what your budget is. Bottom line, what your budget is when you add on all those fun accessories and things that you're going to want when you get one of these larger machines. So thank y'all so much for joining me today. I know you're going to have questions and you're wondering like, okay, I have a million questions for me, what type of crafter I am. Drop those in the comment section below. I'll probably give you a couple of videos to watch that might help you, might walk you through the process and that type of thing. I'm also in the description below. I'm going to drop some affiliate links for each of these machines. When you click one of those and you make a purchase, it just helps our channel, and it's one of the ways we fund all of these videos that we share. Now, if you have not already, head on over our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, no matter if you have a Cricut machine or not. We have crafting videos, general crafting videos, and videos about Cricut all the time. If you want to learn about the machines before you make a decision, our YouTube channel is definitely the place to go. If you loved this video, if it helped you a little bit, please, please, please give us a thumbs up. And I can't wait to talk to you in the comments about which of these Cricut machines is right for you. If you don't have a Cricut machine already, I want to help you find the right one for you so I can welcome you to the Cricut family. If you already have one of these machines and you are wanting a second one, then you're like me and need everyone in your craft room. And I will definitely help you decide if one of the bigger machines is for you or if you need the Cricut Joy in addition to your larger machine, which sometimes is definitely a possibility. So thank y'all so much for joining me today. I hope this helped you a little bit to decide which Cricut machine is for you. So thank you so much, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.